pseudocodes, what we do is we are going to use some plain English words in order to write the steps of a program. Right? So we are going to write steps saying we are going to do this first, we are going to do this second, next we are going to do this likewise. For an example, let's say you are going to add two numbers together. So in order to add two numbers together, first you need to have two numbers, right? So in the steps you are going to denote, okay, I need one number, I need another number, I'm going to add these numbers together, then I'm going to show you the output. Likewise, you are going to tell the steps of your program using pseudocode. So pseudocode is not a programming language, but it's a design tool. Okay, so when you're writing a pseudocode design, you have to always denote your starting point and the ending point. Here we use this main keyword in order to identify the starting point of your pseudocode and end to denote the ending point of your pseudocode. Other than this, other than this main keyword, there are some similar words as well. You can use the words like begin or program or start. These kind of words you can use other than this main keyword. But when we are opening the pseudocode compile, automatically they are giving the keyword main, so it's better you can stick with that one because it's easy, right? So these are the other keywords that you can use on behalf of main. Don't use all of these things, just use one. Okay, then inside this main and end here, inside here we are going to write all our other steps. Okay, so what you are going to do is, normally we are keeping a tab space here you need to have a tab space, and here we are going to type our command. Okay, so I'll start with the very basic commands. So the very first command that you need to know is how to print something. How to print something. In order to print something, or in order to display something, or in order to give an output, you are going to use the keywords like print, or else you can use keyword output, or you can use display, and even put, put, that keyword also works. So using these keywords, you are going to display something on a screen, or you are going to print something onto a screen, right? So this is how we are going to use this keyword. If you are using print, you can simply write print. What's happening? Okay, you can simply write print, and then you keep a space, and then whatever the thing you want to display as it is, you are going to type it inside double quotations. Let's say I want to say hello, I type hello but within double quotations. Single quotations works as well sometimes, so you can use that as well. Print, you have a space, and then you have whatever the word, whatever the sentence you want to print as it is within double quotations. So if I write it here, I can simply write print within double quotations hello. So other than this print keyword, you can replace print with output, display, put, those kind of things as well. Since it is easy, I'll use print. Okay, so then you can run this program and check. In order to run this program, you have to go and click on this green color icon. It says compile and run. Compile means, in simple words, you are going to check whether your file has any errors. If you have any errors, you have to fix them and compile again. If you don't have any errors, you can simply see the output. Okay, click this one, then they're asking you to save the file. So save the file. You can save your file on somewhere, desktop or somewhere. I'll say pseudocode 1. So give a name and then save. Now can you see I was in this edit code mode earlier. Now when I run this program, I'm moving on to this runtime, and can you see here in the below, you can see your output. It says hello. So I use this print command in order to print something on the screen, hello. So if I change whatever the thing I gave inside this double quotation, this output should change, right? So let's change and check. Go to this edit code again. You have to be in this edit code in order to edit your code. Go to edit code, and then here I'll change this one. I'll change this to, let's say, welcome. So change it to welcome. Then again go and run this program. Yes, here can you see it changes into welcome. So whatever the thing you are writing inside double quotations, it will print as it is. So that is the very basic program pseudocode, right? The very basic pseudocode. So that is it. Then example number 2. You have to get user inputs. You need to get user inputs. For an example, now in this one, we simply print whatever the thing inside the double quotations, right? If I want to get user interaction, so if you ask someone to enter something to your program, those are user inputs. For an example, let's say I am asking someone to enter their name or enter their age. So those are user inputs. In order to get user inputs, we are going to use some keyword called prompt, P-R-O-M-P-T, prompt, right? Prompt. Or else you can use the keyword input. Or else there's another one called get. So these kind of keywords you can use in order to get user inputs. Other than these keywords, there's another special thing you have to remember. Now, when you prompt or when you ask the user to enter something to the system or to your program, you have to store whatever the value user is entering in some place, right? For an example, let's say you are asking the user to enter name. So you have to store that name in your computer. If you want to display it later or something, you have to store it first, right? For an example, let's say you are asking the user to enter their name and then you are going to print it. So in that case, in order to print it, before that you have to store that name, then only you can print it, right? So in order to store that value user is entering, we are going to use something called variables. So variables are just names we are given in order to identify a particular memory location in the computer. User entered name, we store that thing in our computer somewhere in our memory. So we give a name to that particular location in order to identify that particular location. Okay, variables. When you are creating variables, there are some rules that you have to follow. First thing is, you can use letters and numbers, but you cannot start a variable with a number, right? You can start with letters, but you cannot start with a number. Another thing is, you can't have any spaces in your variable names. For an example, let's say my variable is number 1. So if I write it like this is wrong because I have a space here. Number, these are some letters, this is a number, but I have a space in the middle, so this is wrong. This is wrong, right? If I write it like this, number 1 without space, this is okay because some letters and some numbers. This is okay. If I write something like this, number and without, now since I can't use the space, I'm going to use this underscore sign, number 1, number underscore 1. So here this is not a space, this is a special symbol. So this is again okay. Then what happens if I write like this? I start with a number and then I have these letters. So this is not okay because you can't start with a number. Then another special note is, when you are creating variables inside one program, you cannot use the same name twice. So if you create a variable called name, you can't use the same variable inside the program again, right? Cannot use the same variable name twice in the same pseudocode, right? You can't use the same variable name twice in the same pseudocode. So in this pseudocode, if I use the variable as number 1, I can't use this number 1 again. I can use number 2, number 3, number 4 likewise, not the same number 1. Okay, right. So we were talking about variables. Now let's see how to get how to get these user inputs using these variables. Okay, so I told you can use these keywords. We will stick to this prompt. So if you are going to get some user inputs to your program, you can simply write prompt and you keep a space, and then you have to write the variable name. So if you are asking the user to enter a name, you have to create a variable to store the name. So you can simply use name as the variable name. Let's say you are going to ask the user to enter age. You can simply write prompt space then age. This space is okay because this is a keyword. This is your variable name. In order to identify this one as keyword and this one as variable name, here you keep a space. But if I write like this, name 1 with a space, this is wrong. Inside a variable name, you can't have spaces, right? Okay, like this. If you're asking a user to enter a number, prompt, you keep a space here, number 1. With here you don't have any spaces. Prompt number 2, likewise, right? So you use prompt keyword in order to get user inputs, this variable name in order to store that value. Okay, so we'll write a program and check whether if this is working. So I'm gonna get a new file, new, save this one. Now here can you see when you get a new file, again you have main and end. So you always start with main and ends with end. Here we are going to type our program. So I told you we use prompt in order to get user inputs. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a user to enter a name and I'm going to print it, right? So my second program is ask a user to enter their name and print it on the screen, right? So this is my question. Ask user to enter their name and print it on the screen. So in order to ask the user to enter their name, I use prompt. So here prompt, and then I'm going to write the variable name. So I can use a variable called name. Name is my variable. Then I'll run this one and show you how this thing works. Click on this green icon, save your file. I'll say pseudocode 2. Now can you see when you run the program, you are getting a window like this. In this window, can you see enter a value for name. So since we gave prompt, we are getting user input. So when you run the program, user has to enter a name value for the name. If I enter an, so that is going to store inside this name variable, right? If I want to print it, I can simply use a print command, print, and then here what you are going to do is you are going to write the variable name here. Now can you remember in earlier what we did was we used double quotations. If I type double quotations, now let's say if I write double quotations and inside the double quotations if I type this variable name, if you have something inside the double quotations, what happens is it is going to print as it is. That means it is going to print this word name. I'll show you. If I run this one, now I'm going to enter the name as Anne. Okay, right? But it is not going to print Anne, it is going to print name because here I have used double quotations. So if you are going to print a value of a variable, we are not going to use any double quotations. Since this is a variable name, we are not going to use double quotations. Now here I have print and I have my variable name. Run this one. Again, they're asking you to enter a value for the name. I enter Anne. Now, since I don't have any double quotations, it should print the value stored inside the name. Click on OK. Now, can you see it prints Anne. whatever the value we entered through the program, right? So you can run this program again and check what it prints. So it will print whatever the thing you entered, right? I'll again run this one with another name. Let's say I'm entering the name as John. Click on OK. Can you see? It is going to print it as John. If you want to modify your answer, let's say you want to print your answer like this. My name is, and then you are going to print whatever the name user is entering, right? You are going to format your answer a little bit. If you want to do it like this, now can you see my name is this going to change with the time? No, right? This is not going to change in time to time. This is fixed. For all the answers you need to have my name is. This one will change. So this is the variable which is going to change. So this thing we don't need double quotations because it's a variable name. But this thing we have to print as it is, so we can use double quotations. So for here we can use double quotations. My name is double quotations, and here the variable name. Variable name is name. In order to connect these two together, we are going to put a comma in the middle. So here within double quotations you have my name is, it is going to print as it is, comma, here you have the variable name without double quotations. So it will print the value of the name user is entering. So we'll change the program, print, oh what happened, sorry, right. Here we'll change the program, print, within double quotations you are going to write my name is, and you put a comma here, and then without double quotations you write the variable name. This is inside the double quotations, it will print as it is. This is with no double quotations, so it will print the value. We'll check, run this program, yes, give a name here, let's say Selena. Okay, now can you see my name is Selena. So this is the value we entered, the variable value. This is going to print as it is. So this is my second example. Okay, right. Next example is in your pseudocode, if you have any calculations. You have some calculations in your pseudocode. For an example, let's say you need to add two numbers together, or you need to multiply two numbers together, likewise. So if you have any calculations, this is how you are going to do. First of all, check what are the inputs you needed in order to do the calculation. Then you can get those values as inputs from the user, right? For an example, let's say you are going to add two numbers together. User is entering those two numbers, right? That means you need to have two numbers. You need to have two numbers as user inputs. In order to store these two inputs, you need to have two variables, right? So for number one, you need to have a variable. For number two, you need to have a variable. So we have to create two variables. How we are going to create two variables? You are asking the user to enter something, so you are going to use the keyword prompt, and then you are going to give the variable name. Since we are dealing with numbers, you can simply type number one here, no spaces, or else you can use the variable names like num1 or n1. Anything will work, right? Any number. All right. Then you are going to prompt for number 2 as well. We are going to add two numbers together. So this is for number 1. This is for number 2. Can I use number 1 again? I can't, right? Because I told you, you can't use the same name twice in the same program. So here it should be number 2 or anything other than number 1. You can't use number 1 again. So you ask the user to enter two numbers. Then what you are going to do? You have to do the calculation. Now in our program, what we are going to do is, let's say add two numbers together. You are going to add two numbers together. So you ask the user to enter now two numbers. Then the calculation. Normally how you are going to find the summation or the addition of two numbers? Number 1 plus number 2, right? You add number 1 to number 2. Now what happens is, once you do this calculation, you have to print the output as well. So in order to print the output, again you have to store that calculated value in another place. Therefore, what we do is we create another variable to store that calculated value. Now here, since we are talking about the addition of these two or the total of these two, you can use a variable like total or addition or add or summation or anything, right? So let's say I'm going to create a variable called total. So this total value is equals to the addition of number 1 and number 2. So that is how any calculation is going to work. Here, this is the variable you created to store the calculated value, equal sign. Then here you have the variables with the addition, multiplication or any calculation, right? So now if you want to print this output, what you are going to do, you can simply write print, and then if you want to print the total, you can simply write total here, because we are going to print the value of the total. Okay. If you want to format the answer, what you are going to do, you can put total is within double quotations, and then you put a comma, and then here you are going to type the variable name without double quotations. Okay. So shall we type this one here? I'm going to get a new file. Go to this edit code, file, new. Now this is my third program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user to enter two numbers. So here prompt number 1. Here this is a variable name, so you don't have any spaces here. Prompt number 1, prompt number 2. Then you do this calculation. Total equals number 1 plus number 2. So do the calculation. Total equals number 1 plus number 2. So what happens here is you're going to add these two numbers together, and you're going to store the calculated total value inside this total variable, right? So when you are writing number 1 and number 2 here, make sure the spellings are correct. Here you have to type this number 1 just like the way you wrote this number 1. The spellings and all should be exactly the same. Then you can print. Let's format your answer. Total is within double quotations. Then you put a comma. Then you are going to type the variable name total without double quotations. Total. Now we'll run this program and check. Here, save the file. I'll say pseudocode 3. Here they're asking you to enter a number. Let's say I enter number 10. Then asking me to enter number 2. Let's say 20. So I entered 10 and 20. So my total value should be 10 plus 20, 30. 30 is stored in total. So when I'm printing, total is, the value stored in total is 30. So it should be 30. Can you see? Total is 30. So that is the output. So if I run this one with some other values, let's say I am entering 50 as my number 1, and I'm going to enter 100 as my number 2. It should be 50 plus 100, 150. 150 is stored in total, and you are going to print total. Here 150, total is 150. 50 plus 100 is 150. Okay, so this is how you do calculations, right? So I will get another file and show you. I'm simply typing the same thing. Prompt number 1, prompt number 2. Now addition you did like this. Total equals to number 1 plus number 2. If we are going to subtract these two numbers, it's very easy, just like this. Let's say you are going to create a variable called subtract, sub or anything, and then it is equals to number 1 minus number 2, likewise, right? So that is how it works. calculations. Then let's say you want to divide these numbers together. You have to create a variable, let's say div or division or anything. Then it is equals to number 1. We are going to use this slash and then number 2. Number 1 divided by number 2. If you are doing any multiplication, so here we use a star sign or the asterisk mark because we don't have any multiplication sign in our keyboard. Right? Then you can print the values just like the previous one. Print total, print sub, print div, print mul, likewise. So any calculation is done like this. You got it? If you have like complex mathematical equations, we are going to use the same technique. Now for an example, let's say I am going to create a variable called final output or something. Final output equals, now can you see this is a variable name, so I don't use any spaces. Final output is equals to number 1 plus number 2, and then in mathematics you can use any mathematical sign. Let's say we have parentheses here, and then we are going to divide this by 2, and then let's say we are going to multiply this thing by 10, divide by 100, likewise. So you can type any mathematical equation here, right? Just like the normal calculations. So this is how we are going to do it. Think you got it.